We're with Eric from Bangor Wine and Cheese, and he is relocated from New Jersey to come up and live the dream here in Maine, and he certainly is. And he's helping us with some choices. If I'm an amateur or I don't have a lot of experience in wine, and I don't, how would I approach that? And you know, people don't want to seem ignorant about it,
Right.
but what are some good wine buying tips?
Well, the best tip I can ever offer is to actually have a wine merchant, someone who has devoted their time to learning about it. Because when you want to interpret the law, you find a lawyer. When you want, and I don't consider myself, you know, someone who's super educated or expert at this point. I mean, I'm still a young guy. There's the rest of my life to live and a lot to learn. But I've put the time into learning and finding the best stuff, and therefore I can turn around and interpret whatever information a customer has. I can try to interpret it and you know, find the right bottle for them, and also, you know, educate folks a little bit. But you know, I always start very simple with folks. I say, you know, when I get a lot of folks coming in, oh, I don't even know what to buy. You know, I know I'm just going out and I need something. Well, let's start easy. White or red, you know, or what are they fixing, you know. A great idea is always go regional. If you know they're doing Italian, it's safe to do an Italian wine because the cook who invented that dish was probably drinking the local wine at the time. So that's always a safe thing. And trust your instinct. You know what you like. You know, if you don't like sweet wines, say so. It's cool. If you don't like dry wines, say so. That's cool. Another great idea is, of course, to come to tastings. You know, there you've got all these open bottles. You've got folks there to tell you about them. And you don't have to become an expert. You never have to be an expert in something. That's why you go and find a professional. But that's why it's very difficult, you know, for folks who tend to shop at supermarkets or whatever. There's no one there to help you. You know, it's...
Red wines, that way.
Yeah, I think the wine section's over. Let me call someone. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. And that's tough, you know, because there's a lot of bad wine out there too, and a lot of bad beer.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's my pleasure as a merchant to go out and find the best stuff. So if you come in to my store, you're reasonably assured of leaving with something.
Well, I've never
delicious.
had a bad beer, just some that are better than others. But,
indeed. Well, this is a really interesting beer. Speaking of which, like, this is the sort of thing that...
It's the Victory Chimes on the front there, I think.
This is a flag porter. So this is a great story. So there's a ship that went down in 1829, and on it there was a couple barrels of porter, which is a beer. Yeah. And they found the shipwreck, and these barrels were still intact, and the beer was still, and there was still some active yeast in it. So they went back, this particular brewery from England, and they took an 1850s era porter recipe and took this yeast and made this beer. So like this is like drinking a piece of history. It's really phenomenal, and it's a good beer, which is important too, right? Right. You don't want it to taste like it's been hanging around since 1829.
Right.
But things like this are really fun, and all of a sudden you've got a story. You feel like you're drinking something, you know, more important than just a beer, and yet it's delicious, and it's, you know, it serves its purpose as a beer as well, which is fabulous. And you know, lots of wonderful things. Also, as a way of educating folks, I send out a bi-weekly newsletter. So for instance, these are the two wines that we just had on it, and the newsletter was about Old World and New World winemaking styles. These are actually made by the same guy, a guy named Bill Easton, and yet his Sauvignon Blanc under his own label is a very New World, big, fruit-forward style. His Syrah that he makes under the Terre Rouge label, very Old World, very delicious, complex. And it's through things like that that people can get, you know, just a little more educated.
Yeah, and I think people can be intimidated. Geez, am I using the right glass?
Sure. Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, as a wine professional, I try not to be too snobbish about glassware, but it is important that you use something good enough, you know, decent enough so you can smell it, because the most important thing, and this is actually something I start all my tastings with when I'm, you know, administering and doing private tastings, is talking about smell versus taste. There are over 10,000 different aromas that the human nose can perceive, but there are 4 or 5, depending on if you believe in the Japanese concept of umami, 4 or 5 tastes. So what do you think is going to be the more rewarding part of drinking? It's actually going to be the smell. There's so much more going on there. And so I do try to impress upon people to use decent enough glassware so you can swirl it, release the esters that are the chemical compounds that smell in the wine. And all of a sudden, you know, and that's, again, that's a simple thing. I can tell anybody that they can go home and they can just really start to smell the wine. And boom, there, you're instantly enjoying wine more. And you don't have to know, you know, where it came from. You don't have to know any of that just to smell something, you know. Everybody can smell.
Very interesting, and I suggest that people that are interested go up and visit you, because it sounds like you have a wealth of knowledge, and gosh, we could do a whole 1-hour show on this, couldn't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So once again, the address of Bangor Wine and Cheese?
The address is 86 Hammond Street, again, right across from the old courthouse, just down the street from the Y. Easy on-off access for 95 if folks are coming up or down that. Yeah, great little place, and we hope to see you there.
Awesome. Welcome to Maine, and thanks for being here.
Thanks,
we
Greg.
appreciate it. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Don't go.